The Grand Chamber of Station Orith was the largest room ever built by any species in the galaxy. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed inside it. Representatives from over 300 species sat in floating platforms arranged in a massive circle. In the center stood a podium made of white crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Admiral Tejo Park stood near the back of the human section. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face that looked like it was carved from stone. He had fought in 12 wars and lost count of how many battles. Today he wore his full-dress uniform with every medal he had ever earned. They covered most of his chest. Beside him sat Ambassador Yuna Kong. She was younger than Tejo by 20 years, but her eyes held the same tired wisdom. She had spent 15 years trying to make the galaxy see humans as equals. 15 years of smiling at creatures who looked at her like she was a trained animal doing tricks. The Galactic Union had existed for 12,000 years. Humans had joined only 80 years ago. To the ancient species of the galaxy, humans were babies. They were newcomers. They were not to be trusted with real power. High Arbiter Velen floated to the central podium. He was a Mirathi, a species that looked like tall, thin birds with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors with their moods. Right now, his skin was a proud gold. He believed he was about to do something great. Fellow members of the Union, Velen began, his voice carrying through translation devices to every ear in the chamber. We gather today to discuss the human question. Tejo felt his jaw tighten. The human question. Like they were a problem to be solved. Humans have been among us for less than a century, Velen continued. In that time, they have proven themselves useful in certain areas. Their soldiers fight well against the Hollow Swarm. Their engineers build acceptable machines. But we must ask ourselves a difficult question. He paused for effect. His skin turned a deeper gold. Are humans ready for full membership in our great union? Yuna leaned toward Tejo. Here it comes, she whispered. I have studied human history extensively, Velen said. What I found disturbed me greatly. In just the last 500 years, humans have fought to global wars that killed hundreds of millions of their own kind. They have created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They have shown again and again that they cannot control their own violent nature. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many species nodded their heads or made similar gestures of agreement. Humans are brave. This is true. But bravery without wisdom is just another word for danger. They are strong. But strength without control is just another word for destruction. Velen raised all 4 of his arms. I propose that we place humanity under protective observation. Their military fleet will operate under Union command. Their expansion into new star systems will require Union approval. They will remain valued members of our community, but they will do so under proper guidance until they have proven they can be trusted. The voting began immediately. Species after species cast their decision. Tejo watched the numbers climb on the display screen. 70% in favor. 80%. 87%. The motion passed. Ambassador Yuna stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. I request permission to address the assembly, she said. Her voice was calm and steady. Velen's skin flickered with amusement. The vote has concluded, Ambassador. There is nothing more to discuss. I am requesting a formal response on behalf of Earth. This is our right under Section 47 of the Union Charter. That section applies to full members only, Velen replied. As of this vote, humanity no longer holds full member status. Your request is denied. Silence fell over the chamber. It was the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Yuna turned to look at Tejo. Their eyes met. Decades of friendship, of shared struggles, of whispered conversations about this exact moment passed between them in a single glance. Tejo gave one small nod, while Yuna turned back to face the assembly. She did not speak. She simply began walking toward the exit. Behind her, Admiral Tejo stood, then Captain Jun Ho Lee, then Dr. Hannah Cho. One by one. All 47 human representatives, rose from their seats and began walking toward the massive doors. They did not shout. They did not protest. They did not make threats or promises. They simply walked in perfect silence, their footsteps echoing through the vast chamber. Velen laughed nervously. "Let them go," he said to the assembly. "Let them have their little tantrum. What can they possibly do? They are children throwing a fit because they did not get what they wanted. They will calm down. They will return. They have no choice." Elder Sereth, an ancient Mirathi scholar who sat in the observer section, did not laugh. She watched the humans leave with growing horror on her face. She had spent 60 years studying human history. She knew things about them that Velen had never bothered to learn. She knew that humans did not storm out of rooms when they were angry. Humans shouted when they were angry. Humans argued and threatened and made noise. When humans went silent, it meant something far worse. The doors closed behind the last human representative with a sound like thunder. In the days that followed, Velen gave many interviews. He assured the galaxy that the humans would return within a week. They needed the Union more than the Union needed them. Their economy depended on galactic trade. Their colonies needed Union protection. They would come crawling back, and when they did, perhaps even stronger measures would be needed. 1 week passed, then 2, then 3. The humans did not return. They did not send messages. They did not answer calls. Their borders closed. Their ships vanished from tracking systems. Their communications went dark. The galaxy had never experienced anything like it. Every species, no matter how angry, always kept talking. Silence was simply not done in galactic politics. But humans were not like other species, Elder. Serath spent those weeks locked in her study, reading everything she could find about human behavior. The more she read, the more afraid she became. She found a human saying that made her blood run cold. "Beware the anger of a patient man." Humans had been patient for 80 years. They had smiled while being insulted. They had served while being dismissed. They had waited while being denied. They were not waiting anymore, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species with access to a screen watched the footage of the human walkout. Most of them laughed. On the water world of Pethys, the fish-like coral made jokes about human stupidity. On the desert planet of Vorith, the insectoid Chell clicked their mandibles in amusement. In the crystal caves of Mirathi Prime, young politicians celebrated Velen's victory over the aggressive newcomers. But not everyone laughed. Elder Sereth sat alone in her archive chamber, surrounded by thousands of years of collected knowledge. Her skin had turned a pale gray, the Mirathi color of deep fear. She had not eaten in 2 days. She could not stop reading. Human history was not like the history of other species. Most civilizations grew slowly, building their technology over thousands of years. They made steady progress, avoiding major conflicts, spreading peacefully through their home systems. Humans had done everything differently. They had nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons before they even left their planet. They had fought 2 wars that covered their entire world. They had created and survived horrors that would have broken any other species, and yet they kept going. They always kept going. Sereth found a quote from a human leader named Winston Churchill. It said, "If you are going through hell, keep going." That was the human way. They did not stop. They did not give up. They walked through fire and came out stronger on the other side. What frightened Serath most was what she found about human military history. When humans went to war, they did not fight like other species. They did not seek limited victories or acceptable compromises. They fought until their enemy was completely destroyed. She sent an urgent message to High Arbiter Velen. He ignored it. She sent messages to every council member she knew. Most did not reply. Those who did told her she was overreacting. Meanwhile, strange things began happening across the galaxy. Captain Junho Lee stood on the bridge of the Earth's destroyer Indomitable. He was a young man with sharp eyes and quick hands. Admiral Taiho had personally chosen him for this mission. "All systems ready, Captain," his first officer reported. Junho nodded. Begin Operation Blackout. Across human space, thousands of technicians received the same order at the same moment. They activated programs that had been hidden in human technology for decades. Humans had always been generous with their inventions. They shared their faster-than-light beacon technology with dozens of species. They helped build communication networks and power systems throughout the galaxy. They gave freely, asking for little in return. The galaxy had never wondered why humans were so generous. Now they would find out. Deep inside every piece of human-shared technology, hidden codes began to wake up. They did not destroy anything. That would be too obvious. They simply made small changes. A beacon that once guided ships perfectly now sent them slightly off course. A communication relay that once worked instantly now had strange delays. A power system that once ran smoothly now had mysterious failures. Within 1 week, 17 species lost contact with their outer colonies. Trade routes that depended on human beacons became dangerous to travel. Messages between star systems took days instead of seconds. The galactic economy began to shake. Dr. Hannah Cho watched the reports from her laboratory on Earth. She was a small woman with glasses and messy hair, but her mind was sharper than any blade. She had designed Operation Blackout 20 years ago, hoping it would never be used. Phase 1 complete, she said into her communicator. All human technology in alien hands is now operating at reduced capacity. Admiral Taiho's voice came back through the speaker. Casualties. None. As planned. We are not trying to hurt them, Admiral. We are trying to teach them. Good. Keep it that way. We are not monsters. No, Hannah agreed. We are humans. We are worse than monsters. We are patient. On Station Orith, High Arbiter Velen held an emergency meeting. His skin kept shifting between angry red and worried purple. This is an act of war, shouted the Coral representative. They have crippled our entire trade network, added the Chell delegate. We should respond with force immediately. Velen raised his hands for silence. We must remain calm. The humans are clearly trying to provoke us into attacking first. We will not fall into their trap. Then what do we do? Someone asked. Before Velen could answer, Elder Sereth walked into the chamber. She had not been invited, but no one tried to stop her. Her gray skin and hollow eyes made her look like a ghost. You want to know what to do? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. I will tell you, apologize. Laughter erupted from several delegates. Apologize? Velen said. To those primitives? Never? Then you will lose everything. Sereth walked to the center of the room. I have studied humans for 60 years. You think they are children because they are young. You are wrong. They are young because they grow faster than any species in galactic history. She pulled out a data tablet and displayed human fleet records. 80 years ago, humans had 12 ships capable of interstellar travel. 12. Today, they have over 600 warships. They built an entire military fleet in less than one lifetime. No other species has ever done this. The chamber fell silent. You think Operation Blackout is their weapon? It is not. It is their warning. They are showing you what they could do if they wanted. They are giving you a chance to make things right. And if we refuse? Velen asked. Sarath's skin turned pure black, the mirrothy color of mourning. Then they will stop warning. And they will start destroying. And they will not stop until every species that voted against them is either dead or begging for mercy. She looked around the room at the frightened faces. Humans have a saying, do not poke the sleeping bear. You poked the bear. Now you must pray it is not too hungry. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the delegates began to argue. Some wanted to attack immediately. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to hide and hope the humans forgot about them. None of them understood the truth. Humans never forgot, and somewhere in the darkness of space, 600 warships waited in perfect silence. Their crews trained every day. Their weapons grew more powerful every week. Their patience grew thinner every month. The galaxy had 80 years to treat humanity with respect. They had wasted every single one of those years. Now the bill was coming due. 3 weeks of silence. 21 days of nothing. The galaxy held its breath and waited for humans to make a move. They waited in vain. Human space remained dark. No ships came out. No messages went in. The border was sealed tighter than any wall ever built. Species that had traded with humans for decades suddenly found themselves cut off from goods they had come to depend on: human medicine, human food preservation technology, human entertainment, human music. All of it gone overnight, but the worst was yet to come. The Hollow Swarm arrived on the 17th day. They came from beyond the edge of known space, from regions so dark that even light seemed afraid to go there. They were not a species in the normal sense. They were hunger given form. Billions of insectoid creatures that consumed everything in their path and moved on to the next meal for 40 years. Humans had stood at the border and held them back. Human soldiers had died by the thousands to protect species that called them primitive and dangerous. Human ships had burned in the void so that Mirathi children could sleep safely at night. Now the border was unteaved. The swarm hit Mirathi Colony 7 first. 12 million people lived there. The local defense fleet had only 30 ships, old vessels that had not been updated in decades. They had always depended on human support. The battle lasted for hours. When it ended, every Mirathi ship was destroyed. The swarm descended on the planet like a living blanket. Distress signals screamed across every frequency. Then, one by one, they went silent. High Arbiter Velen received the news in his private chambers. His skin went pure white with shock. "Send the reserve fleet," he ordered. "All available ships to Colony 7. "Sir," his aide said carefully, "our reserve fleet is already stretched thin. Without human support, we cannot cover all our borders and pull ships from somewhere else. Those are our people dying." But there were no ships to pull. The Mirathi had grown comfortable under human protection. They had reduced their own military to save money. Why keep a large fleet when the humans would fight their battles for them? Velen did something he had never done before. He swallowed his pride and sent a message to Earth. "This is High Arbiter Velen of the Galactic Union. A hollow swarm incursion has struck our border colonies. We request immediate military assistance as outlined in the Mutual Defense Treaty of 2291. Please respond." He waited 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. Then a response came. It was broadcast on all channels, so every species in the galaxy could hear. Admiral Taiho's face appeared on screen. He looked older than he had 3 weeks ago. His eyes were harder. "Hi, Arbiter Velen," he said. "I received your request for assistance. Let me make sure I understand correctly. You want humans to die for you?" His voice remained perfectly calm. "3 weeks ago, you told the galaxy that humans were too dangerous, too violent, too primitive to be trusted with responsibility. You've stripped us of our rights. You treated us like animals. And now, when danger comes, you expect us to run to your rescue?" Velen tried to respond, but Taiho continued speaking. "Humans remember. We remember every insult, every laugh. Every time your representatives looked at ours like they were something stuck to the bottom of their shoe. We remember 80 years of being told we were not good enough, not civilized enough, not worthy enough." He leaned closer to the camera. "You made your choice. Now live with it, or die with it. Either way, humanity will not spend one more drop of blood for species that see us as less than equals." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched in horror. Many had assumed humans would help, regardless of politics. Humans were supposed to be the protectors, the warriors, the shield against the darkness. The idea that they might simply refuse had never occurred to anyone. On the human colony world of New Sol, Lieutenant Mingy Beak watched the broadcast in her barracks. She was a fighter pilot, one of the best in the fleet. Her hands were made for the controls of a Talon-class interceptor. Her roommate, a young engineer named Sujin, looked troubled. "Should we really be doing this?" Sujin asked. "People are dying out there." "Innocent people." Minji thought about it for a long moment. "Do you know how my grandmother died? she finally said. She was a medic on the Mirathi border. When her station was attacked by the swarm, she called for help. The nearest Marathi fleet was 2 hours away. They took 6 hours to arrive. When asked why, they said human lives were not a priority. Sujin said nothing. My grandmother burned to death waiting for help that never came. The Mirathi could have saved her. They chose not to. Now, we are making the same choice. Does that make us as bad as them? She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over mountains that humans had named only 50 years ago. Maybe it does. But I am tired of being good while others treat us like garbage. I am tired of dying for people who would not lift a finger to save us. Let them see what the galaxy looks like without humans protecting them. Let them understand what they threw away. Meanwhile, on Station Orith, a small ship arrived from Earth. Counselor Terith, a young Mirathi who had voted against the restrictions on humanity, had secretly traveled to Earth's space. Now she returned with a data chip clutched in her hand. She ran to the council chamber and demanded an emergency meeting. I have been to Earth, she announced. Ambassador Yuna gave me this. She inserted the chip into the central display. Holographic images filled the room. Ship designs, fleet compositions, weapon specifications. The room fell silent. This is the human fleet, Tyrith said, her voice shaking. Not the fleet we knew about. The real fleet. The one they have been building in secret for the past 50 years. 600 warships appeared in the display. But that was not what made the delegates gasp. It was the weapons those ships carried. Energy systems that should have been impossible. Shielding technology that made Mirathi designs look like paper. Missiles that could track targets across light years. They have been preparing for this, Tirith said. They knew this day would come. They built an entire armada while smiling and pretending to be our friends. And now they are waiting. Waiting for us to give them a reason to use it. High Arbiter Velen stared at the display with hollow eyes. What do they want? He whispered. What they have always wanted, Tyrith replied. Respect, equality, the right to be treated as partners instead of pets. Give them that, and they will save us all. Refuse, and they will watch us burn. She looked around the room at the faces of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Choose quickly. The swarm does not wait. The council argued for 3 days. 3 days while Mirathi colonies burned. 3 days while the swarm consumed everything in its path. 3 days while the galaxy tore itself apart with fear and blame. Some species wanted to apologize immediately. They had seen the human fleet designs. They understood what they were facing. Pride was not worth extinction. Others refused to bend. High Arbiter Velen led this group. He had built his entire career on the idea that older species knew better than younger ones. Admitting he was wrong about humans would destroy everything he stood for. We cannot show weakness, Velen declared. If we bow to human demands now, we will be bowing forever. We must show them that the Union is still strong. Strong? Elder Sereth laughed bitterly. We cannot even defend our own colonies without them. What strength do we have? Velen's skin turned an angry red. We still have the combined fleet. 200 warships from 12 species, more than enough to remind humans of their place. Sereth shook her head. You are going to get us all killed. Velen ignored her. He gave the order. The combined fleet assembled within 1 week. 200 of the finest warships the Union could gather. Mirathi cruisers with their elegant curved hulls. Coral destroyers bristling with plasma weapons. Shell carriers loaded with thousands of drone fighters. They jumped to the human border. System of Verith Prime. Their mission was simple. Escort the human fleet back to the negotiating table. Use force if necessary. Admiral Taiho received word of their approach 6 hours before they arrived. He smiled for the first time in weeks. They actually did it, he said to Captain Junho. They actually sent a fleet to threaten us. Your orders, Admiral. Taiho looked out the window of his command ship at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, 200 alien warships were coming to demand his surrender. Call the fleet. All 600 ships. Battle Formation Alpha. I want us in position when they arrive. Sir, should we try to talk first? Perhaps we can avoid bloodshed. Taiho turned to look at his young captain. I've been talking for 40 years, Junho. I talked while my friends died on the border. I talked while politicians laughed at us. I talked while they voted to make us slaves. No more talking. Now we show them who humans really are. The human fleet moved into position. 600 warships arranged in a perfect sphere around the jump point where the combined fleet would emerge. Every ship had its weapons armed. Every crew was ready. Lieutenant Minji Beak sat in her fighter, waiting in the launch bay of the Indomitable. Her hands rested lightly on the controls. Her heartbeat was slow and steady. She had trained for this moment her entire life. All pilots, this is Captain Junho. The combined fleet will arrive in 10 minutes. Remember your training. Remember why we are here. Today the galaxy learns that humans are not to be pushed around. Today they learn that our silence was not weakness. It was patience. And our patience has run out. The jump point flashed with brilliant light. 200 alien warships appeared in perfect formation. Their weapons already charged, they found themselves surrounded. Admiral Taiho opened a channel. Combined Fleet. This is Admiral Taiho Park of the United Earth Navy. You have entered human sovereign space without permission. You have one chance. Turn around and leave. Now, the Combined Fleet commander, a Mirathi named Velish, responded with a sneer in his voice. Admiral Park, you are outnumbered in terms of galactic authority. The Union demands that you stand down and return to Station Orith for negotiations. We are not outnumbered. Look at your screens. Velish looked. His skin turned white. The human fleet surrounded his ships on all sides. For every Union vessel, there were 3 human warships, and the readings coming from those ships were impossible. Power levels that broke every known limit. Weapons that registered as unknown on every scanner. You have 5 minutes to leave, Taiho said calmly. After that, I cannot guarantee the safety of your crews. Velish should have retreated. Any reasonable commander would have retreated. But Velen had given strict orders. Show no weakness. Use force if necessary. Combined fleet. All ships. Open fire. 200 warships unleashed everything they had at the human fleet. Plasma bolts. Laser beams. Missiles by the thousand. Space itself seemed to catch fire with the fury of their attack. The human shields held. Not a single shot made it through. The alien weapons splashed harmlessly against barriers of energy that shimmered like water. Our turn, Taiho said quietly. The human fleet fired. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Alien ships exploded one after another. Their weapons could not pierce human shields. Their shields could not stop human weapons. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Minji led her squadron through the chaos. Her fighter danced between enemy ships, placing precision shots that disabled engines and weapons without killing crews. Humans were angry, but they were not murderers. They wanted victory, not genocide. Commander Doyan Shin led the marine assault on the Mirathi flagship. His soldiers moved through the ship like ghosts, neutralizing resistance with stun weapons and careful tactics. Within 20 minutes, they had control of the bridge. High Arbiter Velen had insisted on leading the fleet personally. He wanted to be there when humans surrendered. Instead, he found himself on his knees with human soldiers pointing weapons at his head. Admiral Taiho walked onto the captured bridge. His boots echoed in the sudden silence. Velen looked up at him with hatred in his eyes. You will pay for this. The entire galaxy will unite against you. Taiho crouched down to look Velen in the face. You called us children. You said we were too dangerous, too violent, too primitive. You were right about one thing. We are dangerous, but we are not children. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues and nuclear weapons. We are the species that fought 2 world wars and came out stronger. We are the species that looked at the stars and said those belong to us too. He stood up and walked to the communications console. And now, High Arbiter, you will watch as I send a message to the galaxy. A message they will never forget. He activated the galaxy-wide broadcast system. His face appeared on every screen in known space. This is Admiral Taiho Park of the United Earth Navy. Today, the combined fleet of the Galactic Union attacked human space without provocation. Today, we defended ourselves. The combined fleet has been destroyed. High Arbiter Velen has been captured. Pause to let the words sink in. The old Union is dead. The government that called us primitives and voted to make us slaves no longer exists. In its place, we will build something new. Something better. Something based on equality and respect instead of age and arrogance. His eyes hardened. Every species in the galaxy has 1 week to send representatives to Earth. We will discuss the future. Those who come in peace will find partners. Those who come with weapons will find what the combined fleet found. He leaned closer to the camera. Those who do not come at all, we will visit personally. Choose wisely. Humanity is done waiting. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings sat in stunned silence. The most powerful fleet ever assembled had been destroyed in minutes. The leader of the entire Union was a prisoner. And humans, the species they had laughed at for 80 years, now held the fate of the galaxy in their hands. The age of human patience was over. The age of human power had begun. 6 months passed. The galaxy changed more in those 6 months than it had in the previous 1,000 years. The new Galactic Assembly met in Geneva, a city on Earth that humans had rebuilt from the ashes of ancient wars. The building stood where old nations had once tried to make peace. Now, it served a larger purpose. Representatives from every species came. Some came eagerly, hoping to build friendships with humanity. Others came reluctantly, afraid of what would happen if they refused. But they all came. No one was foolish enough to ignore Admiral Taiho's invitation. Ambassador Eunice stood at the podium on the opening day. She looked out at the gathered delegates and felt a strange mix of triumph and sadness. They had won. But winning had cost them something too. "Welcome to Earth," she began. "Welcome to the birthplace of humanity. You are standing in a city that has been destroyed and rebuilt many times. Our history is written in ruins and resurrections. We break and we mend. We fall and we rise. This is who we are." She gestured to the windows, which showed a view of mountains covered with green forests. Those mountains were bare rock 50 years ago. We poisoned them with pollution and war. Now they are green again because we refused to accept what we had done. We fixed our mistakes. We can do the same for the galaxy. Elder Sarath sat in the front row. Her skin showed the soft blue color of hope. She had waited 60 years for this moment. Una continued. The old Union failed because it was built on the idea that age equals wisdom. That older species knew better than younger ones? This was never true. Wisdom comes from experience, not from years. And humans have more experience with pain, loss, and recovery than any species in this room. She pulled up a holographic display showing the new proposed government structure. The new covenant is simple. Every species gets 1 vote in major decisions. Every species has equal rights to trade, travel, and territory. Every species is responsible for its own defense. But all species are obligated to help each other against external threats. No more observers. No more junior members. No more species treated like children. The delegates studied the proposal. Many had expected humans to demand more. They had won the war. They could have made themselves rulers of everything. Instead, they offered equality. A coral delegate raised a fin. "Why, you could take everything. Why offer us partnership?" Una smiled. "Because we know what it feels like to be treated as less than equal. We would never do that to others. Power is not the same as worth. We want partners, not subjects. We want allies, not servants. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to share." In the weeks that followed, the new covenant was debated and refined. Humans listened to concerns from every species. They made changes based on feedback. They showed patience that surprised many who had expected them to act like conquerors. Meanwhile, as the war against the Hollow Swarm continued, Admiral Taiho led the combined fleet personally. Human ships fought alongside Mirathi vessels that had once attacked them. Coral destroyers flew in formation with Earth cruisers. Old enemies became new allies, united against a common threat. The battle for Mirathi space lasted 3 months. It was the largest military campaign in galactic history. Billions of swarm creatures were destroyed. Dozens of human ships were lost, along with their brave crews. Captain Junho commanded the fleet that broke through to save Mirathi Colony 12. 15 million civilians survived because his ships arrived in time. The Mirathi people would never forget that debt. Lieutenant Minji led the fighter attack on the Swarm Queen ship at the Battle of Varith Station. Her squadron lost half its pilots, but they destroyed the main hive mind. Without its queen, the swarm fell into chaos. Commander Doyon landed the first ground forces on recaptured Mirathi worlds. His soldiers helped rebuild what the swarm had destroyed. Human engineers worked beside alien workers to restore power and water systems by the end of the campaign. The swarm had been pushed back beyond the edge of known space. The border was secure. The galaxy was safe. High Arbiter Velen was tried for crimes against the galaxy. Not by humans, but by a court of species who had suffered under his arrogant leadership. He was found guilty of endangering the Union through negligence and pride. His punishment was exile to a small moon where he could spend his remaining years. Writing his memoirs, Dr. Hannah Cho presented humanity's gift to the new assembly. Medical technology that could cure diseases, thought incurable. Energy systems that could power entire planets without pollution. Agricultural methods that could feed billions on previously barren worlds. "We were going to share these things anyway," she explained. "We were just waiting for you to ask nicely." The assembly laughed. It was the first real laughter heard in those halls since the humans walked out. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Human culture spread across the stars. Their music played in alien cities. Their food was served in restaurants on 100 worlds. Their movies and stories entertained billions of beings who had once dismissed them as primitives. But more importantly, human values spread too. The idea that every person had worth regardless of their species. The belief that courage and kindness mattered more than age and power. The understanding that mistakes could be forgiven if people were willing to change. Elder Sareth lived long enough to see the transformation. In her final years, she wrote a history of humanity's rise to galactic leadership. The last chapter contained these words: "We thought humans were dangerous because of their weapons and their wars. We were wrong. Humans are dangerous because they refuse to accept limits. They look at impossible problems and say, 'Let us try anyway.' They face certain defeat and say, 'We will find a way.' They experience terrible pain and say, 'We will heal and grow stronger.' The galaxy observed in horror as humans stormed out of the assembly. We thought it was the beginning of our destruction. We were wrong about that too. It was the beginning of our salvation. Humans did not conquer us. They showed us a better way to live. They proved that strength and kindness can exist together. They demonstrated that the youngest species can also be the wisest. We were afraid of humans. Now we are grateful for them. And we would be wise to remember both feelings. Because humans will always be both things at once. Terrifying and wonderful. Dangerous and compassionate. Impatient and forgiving. They stormed out as outcasts. They returned as leaders. And the galaxy will never be the same." Admiral Tai-Ho retired to a small farm on New Seoul. He spent his final years growing vegetables and watching the sun set over mountains that humans had named. Sometimes visitors came to ask for his wisdom. He always said the same thing: "We never wanted power. We just wanted respect. The galaxy could have given us that freely. Instead, they made us take it. Remember that. Respect costs nothing. Making someone demand it costs everything." Ambassador Yuna served as the first human chancellor of the Galactic Assembly for 12 years. Under her leadership, the new covenant grew stronger. Old hatreds faded. New friendships formed. The galaxy entered an era of peace and prosperity that would last for generations. On the anniversary of the walkout, she gave a speech that was broadcast to every world. 20 years ago, we left this room in silence. Today we return in friendship. The universe is vast, and full of wonders. There is enough space for all of us. There is enough time for all of us. Let us explore it together. Let us build it together. Let us face whatever comes next together. She smiled at the gathered delegates. Humanity is done walking out of rooms. We would rather walk in. Welcome to the future. We are glad you are here. The assembly rose and applauded. Humans and aliens stood together, looking toward a future that none of them could have imagined just 2 decades before. The galaxy had observed in horror as humans stormed out of the assembly. Now they observed in wonder as humans led them toward the stars.